London doing it, and they were called Thomas and Ferdinando Fairfax. And over there, beyond, you can just see the corner of a building, that is Fairfax House actually, it's the same family. So Fairfax are a local family, Black Tom and all that. But Fairfax, that particular building over there, Fairfax House, was actually designed by a chap called John Carr, who was a very famous Georgian architect in York, who built things like the Royal Crescent in Buxton in Derbyshire. But he also built these buildings over here beyond Clifford's Tower, which are now the Castle Museum, which were prisons originally. And all the prison cells are still there in the basements. And there was actually a separate prison for women, and it was bigger than the men's prison, because if you went to prison as a woman in the 18th century, 17th century, you took your kids with you, because there was no social services, none of that stuff. Everybody had loads of kids, so they went to prison with you. Happy days. And conditions in there were appalling, but that is a great, great museum, and you could spend days in there. On the right you've got a monument to the Green Howards, a local regiment, a northern regiment. And on the left, this is all that's left of the wall that originally encircled the whole of the castle area. It's a bailey wall or a curtain wall. A lot of that survived until the 1930s. There's the remains of a drawbridge, there's a fully functioning water mill on the left there from Pickering, North Yorkshire, the River Foss, and Wetherspoon's Beer Garden, cheap beer, yippee. Now this is a travel lodge, and it's called the Poston Gate, and it gets its name from the structure that's in front of us here, Fishergate Poston Tower. Poston, posterior, end. And all around here there was another moat here, there was water where we are now, and it's not here anymore. But if you look on the right, you can see a chute sticking out, can't you? I'm pointing at. That thing is a toilet chute called a Guardrail Tower. And it would have emptied straight into the moat. And cities like York were full of diseases like cholera and typhoid. People had no idea why, and it was because of the filth. And people used to clean themselves in the river, then use it as a toilet, and they wondered why they got ill, and they didn't make the connection at all. It seems obvious to us, but it wasn't to them. If you look at the back of this piece of grass on the left, there's one standing headstone at the back. Dick Turpin, Richard Turpin, highwayman, and it says John Palmer on that as well, and that was his assumed name. He was an awful criminal, and he was captured and hanged in York, and I'll show you where, on the racecourse. That's the St George's Church on the left, not the original one. You can see the top of St Denis Church on the left, the patron saint of France. Beyond that you can see St Peter's Church, which is York Minster. The red brick building over there, which looks like another church, that's Ingleby's Mills in Hungate. And that was a huge, huge employer. And it's now quite posh residential. But at least they've preserved it. It's a Victorian building, a Victorian structure. And this is Wormgate, which is probably Walbergate, which is probably from Walber, who was a Norse woman, we think. And the Norse women were very, very revered. A bit of girl power in the 9th century. In fact, we believe that they went into battle with the men as well. Churches everywhere. This building in front of us here, I just hope that they do something with this. There's really beautiful lettering right in front of us here, chemist and druggist. And it's all a bit of a mess, and it wants restoration, really. There's a St Margaret's Church on the left through there. That's the National Centre for Early Music. And on the right you've got the Bosmerell House, 1399, and that was in a churchyard, St Peter the Willows. But all this lot is like Hungate. It was full of very, very poor buildings, occupied round here mainly by Irish immigrants. 1930s they began the clearance of the slums in Wormgate, Hungate and Bedern, 3 parts of York, so most of this stuff around here is quite modern, as you can see. Some good gnomes on the left, I like those. Big gnomes, I suppose that's their garden really. But this is York's most complete city gate directly in front of us here, and it is called Wormgate Bar.